so sorry. Please forgive me.
Welcome to Skeptiles, the greatest atheist podcast the world has ever known. I'm Joe Dixon, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely and talented Sean Ewald.
Hello.
And the fabulously gifted Leanne Lord.
Hello there.
And today we have another guest. Yes, another guest on this episode. Now, regular listeners know last episode we had on the ardent atheist. So for equal time, this show, we are interviewing a friendly atheist. Hermit Mehta is the creator of the Friendly Atheist blog, as well as the author of the books The Young Atheist Survival Guide and I Sold My Soul on eBay. He's also a math teacher, a subject I did especially bad in school. And for this, I'll exact revenge on him. Welcome, Hermit Mehta, everyone.
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so a regular thing we do here is we ask what everyone is drinking. Hermit, do you drink?
Sure, but I got nothing next to me.
Oh, that's a shame. Do you want to run to the refrigerator real quick?
Don't worry about it.
Okay. Leanne, what are you imbibing or whatever the term is?
Imbibing, yeah.
Imbibing.
Well, if you've been drinking, then it is imbibing. I'm drinking a very, very cheap urban Moscato, so I can't really vouch how the rest of this episode's going to go.
Urban Moscato? Is that like a euphemism for black?
In this case, I would say yes. I would say yes.
Yeah. Actually, I think imbibing could also be a euphemism for giving Justin Bieber fellatio as well. But I'm drinking just woodchuck cider.
Woodchuck cider, excellent. All right, so we're also, and I myself am having some apple juice and vodka, as I typically do now on these episodes for some reason. So we'll get right into our interview then with Hermit. So Hermit, tell us a little about yourself. Now, what's your background and why did you start the Friendly Atheist blog, or empire actually, because you do not just the blog, right? You do other things with the Friendly Atheist.
I do other things now, yeah. I started in college when I started an atheist group there. And the college atheist group, I learned through that group, I learned about the Secular Student Alliance. And so I got involved with that national organization. And it wasn't long before I had this amazing stroke of luck where I got to write I Sold My Soul on eBay, which involved me blogging for somebody else for a little while. And after I was done with that project, it's like, oh, this is kind of cool where I could write stuff and get immediate feedback. So why don't I just keep that going on my own? And that's where the website started.
Cool. And how long have you actually been an atheist, a non-believer?
Oh man, it's more than half my life now. I think it was when I was 14, and I'm like 31 now. So it's been a while.
Oh my God, you're a child. I had no idea you were that young.
Yeah.
So how did you develop this relationship with Patheos? I understand Patheos is basically a religious, pro-religious, kind of a ecumenical religious website.
You know, it's not even, in my opinion. My understanding is Patheos is interested in just kind of being the hub for religious conversation online, much like, I don't know, the Huffington Post is more like, articles about liberal politics in a sense. Patheos just wants to be a hub for religious conversation. So they started off a few years ago where they had a Christian, like an evangelical Christian part of the site. They had a progressive Christian part of the site. I think they had expanded to like Islam. They'd even started a pagan portal. And at some point they wanted to start the atheism part of the site. And I was the first blogger they brought on to do that. And it was a cool project. And, from a blogging perspective, they just kind of take care of all the back end stuff. They take care of the advertising. They take care of the servers. It frees me up to just focus on content, which is what I care about. So it's been a good working relationship with them.
Oh, that's cool. So your Patheos site is actually your main blog, not the Tumblr site.
I don't even know whose Tumblr site that is. They took my name.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, no.
You say you've been a atheist for about half your life now.
Yeah.
So how long have you been friendly longer or atheist longer?
I hope I've always been friendly. But look, the name came from the fact that when I was putting together the website, and you need a domain name when that happens, I was going to do some interview for I Sold My Soul on eBay. And we figured... me and a friend of mine figured, it would be a good idea to kind of plug the website if I was going to do a big interview. But we didn't have a website. We didn't have a name for it. So we ran through in about 5 minutes a list of possible names for it. And the friendly atheist came about because every time we read the word atheist in the media, it was always preceded by like angry atheist or a staunch atheist, militant atheist. You never saw like happy, smiling atheist. And so friendly atheist, you're going to be forced to say those two words together if we go with that.
Yeah.
So that's where the name came from. And, I don't think I'm a jerk online, but, if I need to be aggressive, by all means, I'll go ahead and do that. And believe me, I get a lot of emails and comments that are like, that thing you posted isn't very friendly. It's like, well, it doesn't mean I'm going to let you trample all over me.
I enjoy your blog, and I think that you are definitely very reasonable as a rule in your posts. I wouldn't think of you as necessarily like polemical as like
yeah. And I'm not in real life, so hopefully that's not what comes across on the site. But usually it's, look, there's some stuff that'll piss me off, and a lot of stuff I just want to make it clear and hopefully make it informative and educational and interesting to read. So yeah, there's not a lot of room for just being pissed off about everything.
Oh my God, you never heard this show before, have you?
Yeah.
Well, actually, that leads to a question, Hammett, that I wanted to ask you, because sometimes the most flack we'll take is within the atheist community. You don't even have to wait for the religious to jump on you. And have you had that experience of having people go, friendly atheist, you can't do that. We have to be strong. We have to fight. We have to charge into battle like it's Game of Thrones. I mean, do you...
People who actually read the site, I don't get that criticism from them. People who are brand new to the site and they just kind of see the name and that's it, and they don't read anything, they're the ones who might provide criticism from the atheist world. But I think anyone who's read me for any length of time kind of knows that I'm not sitting back, and I'm very I'll call people out if I have to, and I'll talk about what's wrong with certain issues, especially when it comes to young atheists and their administration and things like that. I don't really hold much back when it comes to those issues.
I want to read you a headline from Salon, and then I'm going to ask you a question. Here's the headline.
All right.
Thanks to Bill Nye, the Creation Museum is getting a theme park. The widely publicized evolution debate raised enough money to begin construction on a giant Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
Now this is my question.
Yeah.
When you take Bill Nye's inadvertent assistance to Christian fundamentalism with your fundraiser for Ryan Bell, the pastor who got fired for publicly announcing he was going to be and try atheism for a year, aren't atheists just giving aid and comfort to the religious and helping to prop them up?
Let me take that two ways. First of all, I think that Salon headline is misleading because Bill Nye did not provide the boost that the Creation Museum people needed to have their Noah's Ark theme park. The fundraising they needed to do was essentially done before that debate ever happened. So it's very misleading to say Bill Nye's the reason they have this Noah's Ark theme park. Now, the question about the fundraiser for this pastor who's trying out atheism for a year, here was the thought process behind that. He said, he's not an atheist. He is religious, kind of. He's definitely not, one of us. And he said, I want to give atheism a try. And as soon as he said that, he worked for a couple different colleges as an adjunct professor, and they both said, we don't want you teaching classes. We don't want you working here because what you're doing kind of goes against what it is that we believe, which I guess is thinking. So he lost his jobs. He lost his jobs because of that. And he has kids, and that's how he paid his rent and stuff. And I thought it would be a nice gesture on our part to say, look, if you're exploring atheism, good for you. I hope everyone does that. I hope everyone thinks critically about whatever it is they believe. And I think there are a lot of people out there, myself included, who would want to show that we support what you're doing. And if you end up going through this journey and you don't become an atheist, we're cool with that too, because, we appreciate you trying to live like an atheist, whatever that means to you. And we raised a lot of money for the guy. And I don't see anything wrong with that. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard a lot of fair criticism, any good criticism against it either. Some people think that we're giving money to support Christianity. It's like, no, it's totally the opposite of what we're doing here.
We did actually discuss that story in a previous episode. I think, when it first came out. And my opinion at the time, and it still is the same, is you or anybody can raise money for whoever they want. It's not,
Right.
It's not my business if you want, who you raise money for. I just personally, I felt like I kind of viewed the guys trying out atheism as kind of a publicity stunt for himself. And my personal feeling was that, I would rather give money. Like, I know atheists right now who are unemployed,
Right.
and
that's for sure.
Right. I'd rather take them out to dinner than give this guy money, or something like that.
If I thought this was a publicity stunt, I wouldn't have started the fundraiser. But I really don't, and I've heard some people say like, oh, he just wants a book deal out of this or something. I really don't think that's what it was. I think he just thought it would be a really cool experiment. And I think I have a place to talk about this, because when I did I sold my soul on eBay thing, that began kind of in the same way, where I said, look, I'll explore Christianity by going to church. And I thought it'd be an interesting thing maybe online. But I had no idea that anything big would come from that, and it did. And this guy's giving atheism a try, quote unquote. And I don't think he thought it would be anything more than an interesting blog and something to talk about. Because if he's teaching religion and he's teaching classes about it, you should certainly know what the opposite end of the spectrum has to say and kind of immerse yourself in that culture. And I think that's a good idea. I wish more Christians would do that. And that's why I felt really bad that this guy lost his job. Now, I have heard criticism that, look, there are a lot of better places or other places people could be giving their money. And that's definitely true. I don't doubt that for a second. But this was a compelling story. And I think there are very few of those stories where I could talk about it and get people on board with saying, yes, we want to support this guy. And to use your example, you said, yeah, there are unemployed atheists out there. Yeah, you're right. But that story isn't very interesting. Sorry, it's not. Unless someone's doing something really fascinating that I think could hit this critical mass of people wanting to support them in some way, I really don't do any fundraisers. That's why I think the fundraisers I've done for Jessica Alquist or Damon Fowler struck a nerve with some people. And even when I've raised money for Christian churches that got graffitied with atheist tags, I think a lot of atheists are like, that's not what I want anyone doing with my label. And I think those are stories that I think I can pitch and people could really get behind. And I can't do that with everything. Believe me, I've tried. I put up a post not too long ago about a bunch of atheists who are in Africa right now doing volunteer work, and they were trying to build a toilet for people who really needed it because they didn't have a nice place to take a dump.
Right.
And I could get so few people to donate on behalf of that because the story just, for whatever reason you want to give, it just wasn't as compelling a story as the guy who lost his job because he said he wanted to try out atheism. So believe me, I'm well aware that there are a lot of people deserving of a fundraiser, and there are plenty of people who could try to do those fundraisers too. It's not just me. But those stories I think I push because I know that I can probably get somewhere with them in ways that I can't with other stories.
Right. I just wanted to be clear that it was not a criticism of you.
Yeah.
Per se, you are entitled to raise money for whoever you like. I'm also kind of annoyed, but you could be with somebody and give a homeless person $1, and it's like, oh, why are you giving that guy $1? He's going to buy a drink. Well, you could give it to this or something. I'm going to tell you how to spend your money or give your money away. Right. I'm not even really involved in the process. I'm not going to give the money, but I'm happy to tell you how to give your money or spend your money. And that's bullshit.
I don't think people realize how hard it is. I mean, believe me, it's not easy to ask people for money, and I do it frequently, but only when I think it's a cause that I would support myself. And almost all of those things that I pitch as, you guys, if you want to support, this is something worth supporting. I'm the first person to pitch in for all of those things because I think they're worthwhile. And again, like I'm saying, it's not, believe me, I don't take what you said as criticism, but I have heard that from a lot of people. And, that's usually my response. It's not like I'm saying someone else is not deserving of it, but I think this is an interesting story, and it's a place you can actually make a difference because other people will get on board with you. And unfortunately, not all the stories that I come across. And by the way, when I did that fundraiser for Ryan Bell, You wouldn't believe the amount of emails and Facebook messages I got from atheists saying, here's what I'm doing. Can you also try to raise money for that? And it's like, I don't think you understand that whatever it is you're trying to do just isn't that interesting. Or it might be interesting, but it's not going to really compel a lot of people to give.
Or it's just not something you can handle. I mean,
well, and that
why are you responsible for raising money for everybody's causes? Yeah, I know.
And I don't think people realize there are tax issues here, that I had to open like a separate business account just to do this sort of stuff, because otherwise I'm the one who has to actually pay a penalty or a price because all this money is kind of coming into my account and then leaving it. So it's not as easy as just pull in this way.
I wanted to go back to something that you said, and I think we overlook that, and it's human nature 101. It comes down to tell me a story. People want to be engaged. People want a connection. They want to have an emotional, believe it or not, even if you're skeptical, reason to give something that resonates for you. And
sorry, Leanne, one of the stories, one of the criticisms I heard, which was directly pointed at me, was saying, how come you didn't do this fundraiser for this worthwhile organization? And that is exactly my response to that, which is that I heard about that fundraiser. It's an awesome thing this group was trying to do. It just wasn't that compelling, and there was no story to tell other than, hey, here's a good cause, give. It would be a lot more compelling if you told me, here's a person, and here's their face, and here's what they're trying to do, but they can't do it without your help,
Yeah, I know there's a reason why that you have those late night commercials with these African kids. They have a name, they have a face, they have a specific story. There's a reason why they do that, Yeah,
and it's compelling, yeah.
And the other thing is, and no one wants to talk about this, time, energy, and money are not infinite things. And you have a choice where you choose to spend any of those resources. And is it upsetting that you may not choose mine? Yes, but I'd rather have you fully invested on my team than half-heartedly doing it. And if it's not you, then you move on to somebody else. It really is that simple. Well, I shouldn't say that simple, but that's what it does come down to. Unlike Sean, I never thought that this guy was doing it for the publicity, because I remember seeing one of the interviews that he did, and honest to God, he looked like a deer in headlights. Yeah. It's like he thought this was a good idea. He wanted to try it, and then, oh my God, people are watching.
Right. And I've been through that, and I think anyone who ever gets the media writing about them when they do something, almost always it seems like it's that deer caught in headlights thing where you're like, yeah, I did this silly little thing. I didn't expect a lot of people were going to pay attention. I kind of hoped some people would, but these things snowball like crazy. And again, a Christian person saying, I'm going to try to be an atheist, even though, by the way, I was one of the first people to criticize him for doing that, because I didn't think you could actually try out atheism. But to say I'm going to try to do that, and this is what I'm going to do, that's really cool. Even if I don't think you were actually trying atheism, at least I don't think that's how I would do it. But good for you. More people should try to do that.
Well, let's stay on this topic for a little bit longer. Let's address the racial aspect of it. Don't mind Sean is here. It's okay. He's the white man here. Leanne is black, and so am I. And you're a person of color. Hamid, what about the whole idea that the fundraisers that seem to happen are always for people who are white, like Ryan Bell, for the two kids you mentioned who got in trouble at school? It seems to be that whenever there's a fundraiser, it seems to be people who are Caucasian.
I'd say two things. First of all, one is you're working off of a very small sample size. There's only been a few fundraisers for people that have gotten as much traction as those have, and those people were white. I did, however, we raised, I believe, $5,000 to build a well in an African country, and I was surprised because there wasn't much of a story there, but we managed to get to $5,000 there. And our name, it said "Friendly Atheist" right on the well. That was really cool. It was a group called, I believe, Charity Water. So again, I know it's easier for me to say this, but it's not a racial thing. It's a compelling story thing. And that was one of the things I said. There was that group that said, how come you didn't raise money for this cause? and I said it's because there wasn't a compelling story there. Well, that would have benefited a lot of young black women. And again, oh my God, I wish there was a story there that I could really latch onto and promote, because it's a cause I firmly support. And unfortunately, it was just a nebulous, we want to institute a program that could teach these people this thing. And it was relatively vague, and it's hard to get people to give when it's a vague story like that. And again, it's not like I'm looking at this saying, "Oh, Ryan Bell's white, let's help him out." That's not how it works, obviously.
Oh no, that's exactly how it works.
But that's the thing, if it was a black pastor doing the same thing, not only would I love to support that sort of thing, but I think it would actually be more compelling because of how intertwined kind of religion is into the African American community. I think that would be a fascinating story, but I haven't heard of anyone trying to do that yet.
Well, that is ultimately the problem, is it? Because let's face it, most atheists are white. And so when you have these fundraisers, most of the people you're going to help are going to be white, because that's the vast majority. What black atheists are out there besides me and Leanne, a lot of them are still in the closet and they don't dare come out.
No, we're out there. Just the numbers are nowhere near a match at all.
Right.
No, exactly. Yeah, I was kidding about you and me, but I mean, just saying that it's an extremely small number. Yeah, and like I said, what is out there again is in the closet and in some cases for very understandable reasons.
Right. And believe me, when I get a chance, when something comes across my path where I have that opportunity to promote something people of color are doing in the atheist community, believe me, I jump on those things because it's something that's just interesting to me. So, the other day I posted about a book written by an African-American author about atheism. That was exciting. And anytime there was like a Black Atheist Day of Solidarity last year, and I think it's coming up again soon. Those are cool things. Yeah, I love posting about those things when they happen. But you're right. And believe me, it's not like I see a ton of Indian atheists either, but it's nice to be able to promote those things whenever I can, when I see something happening.
Oh, by the way, how did your parents react to your announcement that you didn't believe in? You're putting up a website, no less. Are they embarrassed? Do they support what you're doing?
Well, when I initially came out to them as an atheist, in spurts of sorts, they weren't thrilled about it, mostly because it was happening around the time I was doing changing a lot of things in my life. I was leaving medical school. I was going into a path of education, things like that. So atheism wasn't helping. But now we're at the point where I'm kind of stable with the stuff I'm doing. We just really don't talk about it now. They know what I do. They're not thrilled about it, but we don't argue about it anymore. It's just like, oh, that's that thing you do. But we have a really good relationship. We just don't really talk about religion that much.
Now, I'm curious about this, because I know as a black man who predominantly dates black women, though not exclusively, the issue of atheism occasionally comes up and it can actually ruin a relationship. Is that the same in the Indian community? Or
yeah, pretty much. I mean, I did this a long time ago. There was an Indian dating website, and years ago I put up this profile and I said I was not religious, as I don't even remember if that was an option, but I maybe said other or something like that. But for a month, this profile was up there, and I got no responses, no winks, no nothing. And then I changed it a month later, and I said I was my family's religion. And I started getting winks, almost immediately. And I think that it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, if you're Indian, religion is tied in very much so to the Indian community, no matter what part of the country your parents are from or where you're from or anything. I'm not very cultural as an Indian guy. And I think religion's part of the reason I'm not, because if you go to any activity, it seems religion's part of it,
You're Jain, right?
Yeah, that's right. And it's a small community, and it's in certain areas of the country. So outside of Chicago, where I'm from, there actually is a sizable Jain population. But again, like I'm saying, it's not the Indian population; it's the Jain population. And that's how I know a lot of my family friends. It's through the temple. It's not like I'm went there to meet people, because I knew that if I met someone there, that other person was probably religious.
The interesting thing about the Jains is that you guys are literally the religion of peace. I mean, I keep saying you guys. You know what I mean. Obviously, you're not a Jain anymore, but because it is actually a religion that you don't even get to kill bugs, right? I mean, it's that extreme.
Yeah, if you go to like extremist Jainism, you're talking about covering up your mouth when you talk and sweeping the ground you walk on before you walk on it so you don't kill any bugs. Not everyone does that, even if you are Jain. That's pretty extreme. But yeah, it literally is, like you said, the religion of peace. Nonviolence is at the top of the list of beliefs.
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, I'm still vegetarian today because even though I'm not vegetarian for religious reasons anymore, it's not like it was hard to continue being vegetarian, and I understood the reasons behind being it, and they didn't have to be religious. So, but yeah, that's Jainism. And to be honest with you, Jainism isn't even it doesn't believe in a creator God. It doesn't believe in the God we tend to think of when we say that word. But they do believe in a lot of supernatural things like karma and reincarnation and heaven and hell. That's the stuff I couldn't get behind. That's why I don't call myself a Jain anymore.
So there's like kind of a godless heaven and hell in Jainism?
Yeah, there are supernatural beings that attain this like deity-like quality to them, but it's not like there is one supreme God that rules over all. However, you know what's funny? If you tell my mom that, if you tell a lot of Jains I know that, they'll think you're lying to them. They'll say, no, of course we believe in God. It's like, no, yeah, I don't think you understand your own theology.
Well, that seems to be the rule for religious people, is not to know their own theology.
Right. It's done studies, and atheists tend to know more about all religions than religious people know about other religions too, including their own.
Right.
Well,
I think
we'll read the bad and the ugly. Yeah. We don't cherry pick information because we're not trying to get anything confirmed. We're looking at all of it.
Right, right.
Yeah, it really does help to not know a lot about the religion you profess to believe in order to continue believing it.
I'm going to talk about another atheist, and that would be Bill Maher. And I want to play a clip from the February 28th real-time show and get everyone's feedback, Meta's and everyone's, on this, because I take from this what Maher says here is I'm getting, and I want to know if you guys get the same impression, that this is not that he's saying it's the same sort of nonsense you get from people who say worry about the chemicals in vaccines or don't recognize the name of water and think so when people give up the chemical name of water they freak out. You'll see what I mean. Could you play the clip, Sean?
Sure.
It was a big story in the news this week that there's something that Subway said they're taking it out of their bread. It's called azodicarbon, blah, 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 blah. It's one of those long words you see when you read the ingredients and stuff. And it turns out now that it's in 500 different foods. I mean, everything in the supermarket probably has it. And it makes bread breadier, as if we really needed that. And what I found interesting was it's something that's also put into yoga mats and the soles of our shoes, which is something I want in my bread to make it more yoga mat-like. And I'm sure there are statistics that say, in small doses it's okay. What about us people who don't want poison even in small doses? Why do we put this into our food? Because it's banned in the European Union.
Now, Hamid, am I wrong about that? I took that from that. That's Bill Maher engaging in woo. Am I wrong? What's your impression about that?
Oh, man. Which part of that was the woo part?
Just the idea that this chemical.
Well, that's probably not the right term, woo, but it's this kind of uninformed paranoia really more than woo, because woo implies some sort of mystical.
Right. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. When I heard that story, it just seemed like, Subway's taking out this chemical, and I didn't really look into that any more than saying, it's a chemical they use in other products. I didn't really think much of it. I would still eat there, it didn't even register in my head as anything worth thinking about.
I guess the reason it bothered me is because it reminded me of all those people who were complaining about in vaccines, that they had the antifreeze, except it wasn't antifreeze. But people would keep referring to it, say, oh, they have antifreeze. That's why the kids are getting sick. That's why the kids are getting becoming autism. And it had nothing to do with anything. It was just a chemical component that you could also use as antifreeze and also use it as a vaccine. But they weren't the same thing. And
Right.
that's how I took it with this thing with Bill Maher. He's
Well,
saying
yeah.
like, oh.
Yeah, he makes it. It's like, oh, it has a long, hard to pronounce. It's a long, hard to pronounce chemical name,
And they use it in yoga mats.
Right. Yeah. So it must be bad. It must be bad because they use it in yoga mats. You know.
Yeah, I mean, he's infamous for kind of doing that with a lot of things, including vaccines at one point. I don't know if he still does that. But again, I wish I could comment more. I don't know enough about that particular chemical.
Okay. You want to weigh in, Leanne?
I do. I'm going to be real honest here and say that not only am I an American, but I'm a city kid. I don't know what food without chemicals tastes like, to be honest with you. So I don't know what the big whoop is. Maybe the chemicals are what's keeping us alive this long. And it's not modern medicine finding ways for us to live longer, but we are exceedingly well preserved. Matter of fact, you add a few more chemicals in, I might become an X-Man. So I don't share Bill Maher's concern.
Everything natural is good, and anything that has a chemical name that I haven't heard of, because I everything is made of chemicals, but it's like a chemical I haven't heard of, so it must be bad. And like, you know, this idea that like there's a whole industry like making people sick so they can make money somehow, and you know, it's like these crazy conspiracy theories. And I mean, I like Bill Maher mostly, you know, when he restricts himself to politics. He can be really fun, not in his monologues, but like in the panel and his one-liners, he can be really funny and really incisive. I also think there was like this guy, David Feldman, he does a podcast. He talked about working for Bill Maher, writing for Bill Maher, and he said that, you know, he is probably the only guy that would be willing to lose everything for what he believes in. And I can respect that. You know, I think he already did lose. He lost a network show over, you know, but this stuff, you know, he keeps coming back with this bullshit. I think he has modified this woo and sort of health nut crazy conspiracy stuff over time, but he still hasn't completely gotten it out of his system, because I think, he was anti-vax. He believed that if you just ate the right foods, you can protect yourself against disease, because he has, you know, obviously the germ theory is just bullshit. Clearly, you know, you just need to drink enough spirulina shakes and you're protected against everything. This is kind of typical of him. I think it's not that surprising coming from him.
I just realized I kind of made an assumption about you, Hamed. I actually don't know, because I'm sorry, I haven't read. I've read some of your blog, but not that much. But I don't know where you come down on the whole skeptic thing. And I know P.Z. Meyer is another somewhat famous atheist, said that he was not a skeptic. He was not part of the skeptic community. I'm curious, where do you consider yourself in that regard?
I mean, if you ask me to choose a label, I'd probably go with atheist, only because it's the one I've kind of always used. But I don't know. I don't really find myself saying I'm not a part of any of those other camps. I am a skeptic. I just don't really think about it all that much. But I mean, the pseudoscience stuff that a lot of the skeptics go after, I'm as interested in that as I am anything else. So yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with the skeptic crowd or anything like that.
Where do you come down on the whole? As you are well aware, there's seems to me anyway, endless infighting in the so-called atheist movement. So, huh?
What?
So I'm curious, what do you think of that? What do you think of this whole? When we had on the Ardent Atheist, they thought it was great. They thought it just meant the group. We were expanding as a group, and I'm curious what you feel. Do you think it's a good thing, a bad thing? All the endless infighting that goes on.
Yeah, I tend to ignore the infighting because I don't give a shit about any of it. Look, there are important issues we could talk about. I'm trying to. I mean, of all the things I could be talking about, I try to limit myself to things that involve religion and atheism, because I think that's what I'm good at writing about, and that's what I'm interested in writing about anyway. So yeah, it's unfortunate that people are dead set on, like, you hear a name and you just have a bad taste in your mouth or something, or you feel like you got to be critical or, just pick on someone. I don't participate. I don't really care that much about all the infighting, and I tend to stay away from it. I haven't written about that stuff on my website. I try not to unless it's completely unavoidable. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the Ardent Atheist wasn't wrong that it's gonna happen. Anytime a group expands, there are people that are gonna take sides on some issue or another. And unfortunately, when you throw in the internet and some anonymity, you're basically just throwing fuel already on the fire, and it's not helping. But it comes and goes in spurts, and I think right now, at least, it's kind of one of those down times. So there's not anything people are completely arguing about, which is kind of nice. So I can actually read other blogs and read things that are interesting again.
Do you ever go to these conferences that they seem to have endless? I don't get. There seems to be I guess there's a conference atheism out there, because I constantly, I don't know how these people have time or the money to go to all these conferences.
Yeah, I mean, look, I do get invited to a number of conferences. I've actually started saying no to a lot of them, not because of anything they're doing wrong, but just because I'd honestly rather just be at home and spend time with my wife and work, and takes its toll after a while. But yeah, I mean, I've been to a lot of them, and it's pleasant enough. Look, I'll tell you this: when I was in college and I started that atheist group, I got invited to travel to attend one of these conferences, and it was like a life-changing moment, because that was the first time I had been around that many atheists in one place. And there weren't a lot of students there. Like, I was probably one of the youngest people in that entire conference. But oh my God, to be surrounded by people and not have to keep my guard up, just to say this is what I'm thinking and not have to censor myself all the time. Such a huge deal. And I'm sure anyone who becomes an atheist, and right now, if you go on Reddit atheism, you can be anonymous and talk about atheism and know that a lot of people out there agree with you. There's a lot of power to that, and it makes you feel really good. I can understand why people go to these conferences, and they're not all expensive. And for a lot of them, you can get your registration paid for through other means and stuff. I don't really get the people who go to a lot of them all the time as just attending, but I'm fortunate enough that sometimes they ask me to speak at these, so I've been to a lot of them. Honestly, there isn't a lot of the infighting there. I think once you see a lot of these people face to face, you get along just fine, and you go out with them, and it's fun, and you talk. And then when you're back home, with your computer in front of you, all hell breaks loose. Again, I try to just stay away from that, because it's just not my style, but I think that's what happens. People get along fine when they're in person.
Yeah, that's true. I guess for me personally, being an atheist is something that is just a baseline thing. It's just, I don't have to talk about atheism or not believing in God to other people. I just don't believe in God, and it's sort of just getting all that stuff out of the way just clears the way for more interesting topics. And
by the way, there's no shortage of other things to talk about, so I don't understand why people are stuck on certain issues.
Right.
I think what's key is that when you're maybe new to the movement, like maybe you've been isolated, you didn't know other people felt this way, or you're perhaps newly out, in public with it, that the social gathering aspect of it takes on a different importance. I remember the very first time that I went to Ayanna, I forget Ayanna's last name, but she's the head of Black Atheists of America.
Watson. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And she was speaking here in New York, and when she lives here, but she was speaking, and I went and I saw more than one Black atheist in the room, and I was a fool. I still see these people, and I apologize because I know I just acted out. I was like, "Oh my God, you're an atheist. Can I touch you? Can we?" It was a very exciting moment, and it was like, "Wow, I'm not alone." And that little bit of confirmation was wonderful, and I still have those connections. Over time, though, I don't find those gatherings absolutely necessary. Not enough to get on an airplane.
Right.
Now we're talking the economics of atheism. Yeah. And, now we get into classes and stratifications of who can afford to go to these all the time.
Right.
You know,
And
maybe not your average black atheist.
Yeah, and you're talking about something really important. If you can have a connection some way, some people can do it with their local meetup group or a local atheist group. More power to them if they live in a place where there's enough people that they can do that. I think a lot of younger atheists don't attend those things. For younger atheists, they probably associate with people more online. But I will say that at the Secular Student Alliance conference, that happens once or twice a year now, depending, where there are like hundreds of college atheists. Every year that I've gone there, and I've gone there so many times because I absolutely love that conference, you will see people who are like you were saying, Leanne, they're seeing other young atheists for the first time, and it's such a life-changing moment. And it's like, oh my God, I can associate with these people, and I make friends, and it's great. And you're right. I think for a lot of older people who don't necessarily do this sort of stuff online, who aren't really interested in seeking people out on their own through some like meetup group, those conferences are probably the only way they can do it. And like you said, they are expensive. They do attract one kind of person who has the ability to do that. I understand that that's a separate problem in and of itself, but I think you got to understand where the groups, I guess, are coming from too, which is for a lot of them, actually, these are supposed to be their money makers. That's why they're holding them. Right. They're not holding them for the benefit of us meeting each other. They're holding it because they need to make money so they can do the stuff that they do. So I don't blame the groups for it, but there have to be other ways for us to interact with other atheists. And, that's moving online anyway. So, and I would also say, like you said, you don't necessarily feel the need to go conference hopping. But then again, you also have this podcast. You have other ways to talk about atheism. I have my website now. And so I don't need to go to these places to kind of get my atheist fix.
Right. Yeah, it's almost, it's a luxury. I'm kind of spoiled. I live in New York. I can sneeze and hit an atheist and they don't say God bless you, so it's wonderful. As well as the plethora of podcasts, I of course love my own here that I'm new to, but I don't want to miss a Reasonable Doubts. That's like my educational fuel right there.
Right. And yeah, it's unfortunate. And I think that's one of the things that happens when you get stuck only going to conferences, only going to Reddit, only going to, your podcast or whatever, which is that you get insulated. And that's why I try not to just limit myself to my own website. I try to branch out into other areas where I do get to hear different opinions and I do get to meet different people. And one of the things that's exciting right now to me in the atheist world is that because it's getting so big, you are getting your share of new people into the mix. So, for example, you are going to see more, let's say, conservative, Republican atheists. You are going to hear from a lot more pro-life atheists and people who fight for other issues and happen to be atheists as well. And that's really interesting from, a reporter's perspective, I guess, because it's not all just cookie cutter down the line. People are bringing in different opinions, and you'll get more discussions about more interesting things.
Right. It's not a monolithic community at all.
No, and I think that pro-life one especially, like, I am pro-choice. I am like so totally pro-choice, and yet I'm fascinated by this idea that there are these atheists who have secular reasons for being pro-life, and they don't have the same arguments that the religious pro-life people do, obviously. And I think that's a huge thing that's going to play out a lot more in the next couple of years, just to see how they get perceived by the general broader atheist community too. So I've been writing about that more. I plan to write more about that in the future too. But that's just a really interesting thing that's going to happen. And what happens when you throw in more Republicans into our crowd? Because, you go to almost any atheist gathering, they're almost all going to be Democrats or maybe libertarians. But you don't see a lot of hardcore conservatives. But there's no reason to be conservative and atheist. So that's going to be really interesting to watch.
The people who most confuse me are the anti-gay atheists.
And they exist too. And again, is there really a non-religious reason for being against gay rights? And they have them. I understand them, but they're out there.
Is that mostly the ick factor? Like, ew, are they just creeped out by it? Is that,
I think they just see it as it's not natural
But it clearly is. I mean, there's like mountains of evidence that it's fucking, it happens all over the animal kingdom.
Yeah, I don't think these guys are really basing it on anything other than their own homophobia. But it is interesting because there was this group, I think it was the Black Atheists of Atlanta or something, and they called themselves atheists, and they had this, they were up on YouTube, and they had this whole thing about the gays this and the gays that, and the unnatural thing came up and how horrible it is. It's like, and I think I couldn't hear any sort of rational explanation for it. Other than, I guess maybe Leanne's ick factor and their own homophobia, because nothing else made any sense what they were saying. If you have no religious basis for it, it makes no sense.
And it almost, comes back to, I guess, my own faulty thinking in a way, because I think, if you're atheist, then I automatically credit you with being a critical thinker, thinking on a higher level, being more liberal and open-minded. And that's not necessarily the case. Right. I shouldn't necessarily give you that credit, at all.
Right.
Yeah, there's no reason just because someone is atheist means they're rational. It really doesn't.
If we really want atheists to engage in political action, we need to pretty much restrict it to separation of church and state issues and things like that, which I think if we could actually organize atheists to do activism on separation of church and state issues alone, that would be fantastic.
Right.
But trying to get everybody to think the same way is a fool's errand. There are awful people in the atheist movement just as there are awful people in any other walk of life or area of life. And that's not going to change. But what you can do is harness even the awful people to lobby for separation of church and state issues, which I think would make a huge difference in this society if we could actually have some real change in that area.
Yeah, absolutely.
That actually sounds like a perfect lead into our next story, does it not?
I guess it does. Yeah, I got another story here I want your feedback on. Now, you work as a teacher, and so I'm curious what you would do if you were had to deal with this. This is stories out of Alabama.
The House Education Policy Committee passed a bill that would require teachers to spend 15 minutes of their class time to recite a congressional prayer. Now, Governor Bentley is on board with this, but not everyone is.
If a prayer can be uttered before Congress, we certainly should be able to do it in a classroom.
Governor Robert Bentley doesn't have any problems with teacher-led prayers in Alabama public schools. The first prayer of the Continental Congress was prayed in 1774, and it continues in Congress today. But Maureen Costello with the Southern Poverty Law Center objects to having it in the classroom.
The difference in school is that you're dealing with children who are very impressionable. And in fact, the purpose of a teacher is to be a trusted person, and they are a captive audience. They don't have the right to choose to get up and leave if they are uncomfortable.
According to the House Bill 318 passed in the House Education Policy Committee, teachers could recite prayers like the first prayer of the Continental Congress, saying, "O Lord, our Heavenly Father, high and mighty King of Kings and Lord of Lords." All this we ask in the name and through the merits of Jesus Christ, thy Son and our Savior. Amen. Costello says this doesn't belong in public classrooms.
Let's say a child comes from a house where Judaism is the religion or no religion is practiced. They're getting a message then from the school that what their parents and their family believe or don't believe is not right.
But Governor Bentley says there's no violation of church and state here.
If there is, Congress is breaking the law.
So if you were in that situation, what would you do?
That bill, which I don't know if that's actually going to go through, or if it did go through, but that's going to be fine until a Muslim teacher wants to have a Muslim prayer, and then they're all going to flip out.
Right.
Look, I would hope that any teacher would just say, look, I don't know how they have time to pray, because I know when I'm in the classroom, I feel like there's so much I need to do that day that there's hardly any time to do anything else. So I'm just amazed that any teacher would be like, yes, we should spend time to pray to this God. And by the way, they say that we're only doing the prayers that are used on the floor of the House and the Senate and stuff as if those are non-denominational prayers, but they're not. They are like Christian prayers all the time. And again, if they are, and a teacher does that, they're just begging for a lawsuit.
Right. Well, I mean, also, I believe that, the prayers in Congress, they have like an imam, they have an imam, they have a pastor, they have I think it's like it takes a little while to do the prayer because they have everybody do a fucking prayer, or maybe they alternate or rotate or something, in order to stay within the bounds of separation of church and state.
I agree. I'm stunned where they find the time. Alabama ranks 34th in national student performance. I would think they could use that classroom time a little bit more effectively.
Yeah.
And by the way, the same thing with the moment of silence, because we do have that in Illinois where I'm at, where they have like up to a 30-second or a minute moment of silence every day, depending on the school and how they want to do it. Ours is not that long, but at the same time, it's like, can we just get on with class? And that's the same thing everywhere. It's like, why are you could do this at home before you leave. Why are you wasting school time to do something that is so unnecessary?
What's even more bizarre to me is that in that bill, which I ultimately don't think it's going to pass anywhere, but who knows how far they'll be able to take it. But also in that bill, it says that the child can object to coursework as well as to homework. So if your religious beliefs go against what the teacher is teaching, you can actually make that excuse. So you can I didn't do my homework because you taught about, I don't know, evolution today, and I don't believe in evolution, so I don't have to follow the coursework.
Right, and it's like, I would hope that the school gets behind a teacher and says, you don't have to believe it, but you got to know it.
Right.
When I was, I went to Catholic school, and my junior year we had trigonometry, a math class with trigonometry, and I had a crazy nun teacher who spent an inordinate amount of time praying before she started the lesson. I mean, it felt like by the time she started the lesson, it was time to change classes. It was that long. And as a 16-year-old, I'm like, oh, this is great. We're not really getting any work done, which backfired when it came time to take the Regents. We knew nothing. And I blame her for that. Did I graduate? Yes. Did I go to a great college? Yes. At the end of the day, it really didn't hurt in the long run, but she did us, I feel, an academic disservice because she's having us pray for, 15, 20 minutes instead of having us do work.
Right. And if you compound that with, say you had multiple intensely religious teachers who decided to spend that much time on every class, then it's like, then you're really fucked. It's like one class and one subject, maybe, but it's really still offensive that this is allowed to be done at all. I mean, obviously you were in a Catholic school, so yeah, there's no you're going to a religious school.
It was still even too much.
Yeah,
it was still even too much for that. I mean, I've been going to, Catholic school since about third grade. And even all of us were like, this is a little much.
Right.
We all knew that. But, being a stupid teenager, we thought we were getting away with something, that this was a great thing. And it really wasn't.
Got one more clip for you. Then this doesn't involve atheism. I'm just curious, again, as a teacher, what you think about this particular situation. This involves a young man, and you'll hear why he got in trouble. But just a quick follow-up to the story before we play the clip, just to let you know, he was supposed to get 90 days at an alternative school. They reduced it to 30 days, but he still has to, and he will get to be able to attend the prom. They mentioned all that in the story. But the thing is, he still has to face weapons charges, what I think is outrageous. But I'm curious of your feedback on it.
Tonight, an honor roll student in Clarksville faces serious charges and may not graduate because of what his family calls an overreaction by the school district to a mistake.
News Channel 5's Todd Walker is over at our smart screen. Todd, we know hundreds of people are backing this student up.
Yeah, David Duran-Sander was suspended from school this past Thursday, and since then more than 600 people from across the country have signed a petition saying what the school district is putting him through is wrong and tarnishing an otherwise spotless reputation.
It makes you a cynic. It makes me sad. It breaks my heart that this is happening to kids.
At this point in someone's senior year of high school, they should be looking over college and scholarship applications, not weapons charges and discipline policies.
They called on intercom that we had a random lockdown surge.
But since last Thursday, that's all David Duran-Sander, his grandmother and father have been able to do. David goes to Northeast High School in Clarksville. On Thursday, he drove his father's car to school, and his car was randomly chosen to be searched by the sheriff's department during that lockdown.
I was like, no, sure, no problem, because I didn't have anything to hide. And they said, do you have anything that we might need to know about? I was like, my dad chews tobacco, so there's probably snuff in there. And they're like, okay, and that's when they found the knife.
David's dad is a commercial fisherman on the West Coast. He had apparently left a fishing knife in the car.
Well, I was like, this isn't my knife. It's my dad's. I didn't know it was in there. He's like, it doesn't matter. It was in your possession anyway.
Since the blade was longer than 3 inches, school policy considers it a dangerous weapon. On the spot, David was suspended for 10 days. He will also have to attend an alternative school for 90 days after that.
I'm like, no, don't you understand? I'm not sending this kid to an alternative school. He doesn't deserve that. He did nothing wrong.
He then faces weapons charges from the sheriff's department.
I was like, is this a dream? Like, why is this happening to me? Like, this is so ridiculous.
And right now, it's unknown how this dream will end.
David and his family have an appeal hearing on Wednesday with the school board. If his suspension and reprimand are not reversed, he will not be allowed to attend prom, his JROTC ball, or walk at graduation. Guys, it's unclear whether he'll be able to graduate at all, and that has scholarship applications and college applications on hold until this all gets figured out. And we tried multiple times to get a response, some sort of statement from the school district, but we got nothing.
Wow. Definitely going to be one that has people talking, though, Todd.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So what do you think of this particular story and just zero tolerance type? Because I assume they have something similar in Illinois, don't they?
Really quick though. This is just so we add this little detail is that he's a biracial kid. He's a black kid. His father's white and presumably his mother is black. I somehow just think that his car search was not so random, but
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand the zero tolerance thing where it's like, if there's a reason, can we at least explore these on a case-by-case basis before making these life-changing decisions? I don't understand what the need for that is. Believe me, as a safety concern, I understand, like, you just want to show them you should not do this ever. But it seems silly to just throw out any common sense when you're dealing with these issues.
Have you ever faced anything like that as a teacher when the school or the district had such a ridiculous policy, unbending, where they're just like, oh no, because I remember a couple of years ago they had the drug hysteria. I guess it was during the 80s or 90s, whatever. And this girl gave a Tylenol to her friend, and she got in trouble for giving drugs because it was a zero tolerance on drugs at the school.
Right. And again, I'm thankful that I haven't had to deal with that, but I've heard about it plenty of times. And again, that's a perfect example where can we just let's take a broader view on this and put it in some context instead of just saying drugs given to someone else, so punishment. That's just so ridiculous.
Right. This could have been resolved by a phone call to the father. He says it's his father's knife. They call his father. His father's a commercial fisherman, so it's kind of reasonable to think that maybe he might own a knife that, for his job. And it's like, this is so, it's such bullshit on the face of it. And it's like the police, they don't care. They found a knife in the kid's car. He gets weapons charges, even though he didn't know the knife was there. And
by the way, the knife is in a car on a parking lot. What does this even have to do with the school? So it was on school property. He didn't bring it into the school.
Right.
So even on that basis, it's absurd.
Right.
It was at no point in any danger to anyone. Fine, you have to do these school search. You don't have to, but this is what they've decided they're doing there. Okay, fine, you do the search. You find a knife. Yeah, you're right. And then you call the parent, go like, he says it's yours, it's his. Okay, fine. Please next time be careful. Don't light this alarm, blah, blah, blah. The end. The idea that this kid could be facing weapons charges, that he had to go through this, even 30 days for an alternative school, whatever the hell that means, and all the rest of it is just nonsense. It's completely insane. And you're right, Hammett. It's where's the common sense? Why not just use your brains for a minute? But everybody wants to. It's easier to beat up on children than it is to actually do the right thing.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, thank you for coming on, Hammett. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, guys. Hope to come back soon.
Sure, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Bye, all.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Skeptiles is a weekly podcast on atheism, skepticism, politics, comedy, and drinking, featuring Joe Dixon, Sean Ewald, and Leanne Lord. Please subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher, or download our shows directly from our website at skeptiles.com. When you subscribe, leave us a review on iTunes or give us a thumbs up on Stitcher. You can also leave a comment on our website, skeptiles.com, or email us at info@skeptiles.com. finally, you can leave a message on our listener voicemail at 347-443-9253. Or go to Skeptiles.com and click the Call Me button on the website. Joe Dixon's stand-up clips and his Atheist Bible Study series can be found on his YouTube channel. Joe spells his last name Dixon. Leanne Lord's stand-up and her other podcasts can be found at her website, veryfunnylady.com. That's veryfunnylady, one word, .com. Our show's opening music is the song Insanity by Oingo Boingo. Our show's closing music is the song Is That All There Is by Peggy Lee. Arrested Development's opening and quiz music mashups by Scooter. Thanks for listening and supporting the show.
Okay, our first story. The man in this news story is being charged with sexual misconduct with a minor, criminal deviant conduct, sexual battery, neglect, and intimidation. His partner is being charged with sexual misconduct with a minor, criminal deviant conduct, sexual battery, and neglect. But here's an upside. This isn't just any old alleged molester and accomplice. This is family values child molesting because his partner is also his wife, Buffy. Wow. That's right, Buffy, the vampire slayer pedo.
Oh my God. So
why was this never a plot on the Love Boat?
We begin tonight with the story of a local minister captured in a manhunt and charged with sex crimes. Good evening, I'm Andrea Moorhead.
And I'm John Stair. Prosecutors also plan to charge the minister's wife in the case. The Night Beat's Emily Longnecker is just back from Morgantown in Morgan County with the story. Emily?
Well, John and Andrea, investigators say they got a tip the minister and his wife were in Columbus. That's where authorities, including U.S. Marshals, caught up with the couple in a Columbus hotel and arrested them both. Now, Jonathan and Buffy Harness were taken to the Morgan County Jail. The husband and wife are charged with multiple counts of child molestation and neglect of a dependent. Jonathan Harness is listed as the pastor of this Morgantown church, Abundant Life Fellowship Church on East Washington Street. A website describes it as a Christian Israelite congregation with services on Sunday. Tonight, no one at the church was available to comment to Eyewitness News. The Morgan County Sheriff says he will release more information on his investigation in the morning. Right now, both Jonathan and Buffy Harness are still behind bars in the Morgan County Jail. And tomorrow we'll continue to bring you more information on this still developing story on Eyewitness News and WTHR.com. John?
So isn't that a beautiful story?
I know, warms the heart. But,
it does. It actually does. It restores my faith in marriage.
Yes, I know. Yeah, through thick and thin, sticking together.
Right. You know, couples that commit crime together stay together.
Yeah.
That's why Bonnie and Clyde was such a successful couple.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
But I mean, yeah, and this couple is like probably one of the few couples that could actually make Bonnie and Clyde look wholesome. Yes.
Yes.
I'll take bank robbing murderers over child molesters any day.
If this sort of thing, catches on, maybe we need to start thinking about co-ed couple jails. Where you could serve time with your beloved.
Oh, that's right, because last week we also had that's right, they had a married couple who was also going to jail. That's right. So maybe there's a trend.
An underserved community.
Co-ed prisons. That's right. Yeah, we'll have to. You had couples therapy. You have couples prison.
Yeah, I guess. Well, you only want the husband and wife to go to jail together if it would actually be a punishment, not.
Trust me, it will be.
All right, let's move on. This next story now, like most men, the gentleman in this next clip likes to whip it out, which is fine for a bathroom and bedroom activity, but frowned upon when done in a store in front of a child. Now, to be fair, he did do this at an establishment that specifically says they want you to let it out.
A pastor in Russellville turns himself in after video surveillance shows him exposing himself. Hello, everybody. I'm Gene Burke.
And I'm Lauren Hansen. Thanks for joining us. The pastor's picture was shared more than 600 times on Facebook, helping police identify him. Now, we do want to warn you, some of this may not be suitable for children. Our Kayla Vanover brings you tonight's top story at 6.
According to Russellville police, a man was caught on surveillance camera exposing himself to a young girl while shopping in Burke's Outlet here in Russellville. And police say social media was a huge factor in helping to identify this man. On February 13th, a mother told police that a man exposed himself to her 15-year-old daughter while shopping in the junior section at Burke's Outlet. Police say the store's video surveillance camera captured the man's indecent actions.
In the video, you can clearly see Mr. Losi manipulate his zipper to expose his penis before approaching the girl.
The man left before police arrived. However, this would not be the last time his face would be seen.
A still image from that surveillance was posted to our Facebook page asking the community to help us identify the male. That photo quickly received a lot of attention and obvious concern, which resulted in Mr. Kevin Losi reporting to the police department on February 21st to turn himself in.
Losi was arrested yesterday, and police say he is an acting pastor at Woodlawn Baptist Church. The church's neighbor says she knows Losi.
It's just unbelievable, but you never know. See, people think preacher, oh, he's a preacher, oh, well, I'm sorry. They do the same things that everybody else is doing.
Sweeney says she has spoken to Losi numerous times.
My son goes there all the time, and I'm very happy that I never let him stay overnight. It's not the church, no, it's him.
Now, as of yesterday, Losi was released from jail, and all details of this case are pending. Russellville Police Department also wants to send a huge thank you to the community for helping with this case. Reporting in Logan County, Kayla Vanover, WBKO.
Police say Losi admitted that his 7-year-old son was shopping with him that day in Burke's Outlet.
Wow, that's pretty fucked up. Yeah, so you have your 7-year-old son, and you're exposing yourself to little girls, with your 7-year-old son in tow.
Well, she was 16. She wasn't that little.
Well, whatever. But she's exposing yourself. I mean, I don't care how old. She could have been 40. She could have been 40. You're with your 7-year-old son in tow, and you're showing your dick to women, or girls and women. It's
See, he wouldn't have done that to a 40-year-old woman because she might have actually grabbed it and made him use it.
Good for the lady. Obviously, she was from a foreign country. She was from Europe or something, so she had some sense in her head. The woman who made the comment about they're just like everybody else, which they are.
Yeah,
only worse.
She was great.
Yeah.
Now here's my question. He's an acting pastor. Did he think this was some sort of test to become the actual pastor of that church? Like this is he was checking it off his hazing list.
Right. It's like maybe if I expose myself to teenage girls, that I could get in that job, the permanent position faster.
Well, but maybe he just got confused when they heard about how Jesus revealed himself to me. Well, maybe that's what I need to do.
Maybe it was he was doing like a little puppet show. Maybe he drew a Jesus on his penis or something. I drew him a Jesus picture.
Jesus on the penis.
Jesus penis. But,
you guys, I love you, but y'all are creepy as hell.
But actually, what's funny is like in the video clip, they like this Burke's Outlet. I don't know if I've never heard of it before. I doubt it's like a huge chain, but they do this slow zoom in close up of the front of the store, and it's like, yeah, that's the kind of publicity a business wants.
Right.
It's like.
Well, I said it before and I'll say it again. It is called an outlet.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, maybe he just misunderstood. He saw the sign and he was like, oh.
That's why he brought his 7-year-old with him. He said, this is what you do in stores like this, son.
Right, exactly. Teach him a little life lesson, yeah.
Okay, and sorry, go ahead.
No, that I was just going to say that's going to screw up his daddy weekends for life now.
Yes, I think so.
One can only hope. In this next story, now I agree with the pastor. I don't know how child porn got on his computer either, but my guess is it wasn't through Netflix.
A pastor in Douglas County is under investigation for possession of child pornography. 75-year-old Dick Schwenkmeyer was arrested yesterday. He's facing 2 counts of sexually exploiting a child. 9 News reporter Jessica O has been looking into the allegations. And Jessica, the judge in this case sealed the court documents.
Yeah, and that was prompted by the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. They're not releasing too many details on this case right now because they say they're investigating the possibility that this man is actually tied to some other cases that involve contact with some victims. So again, a lot of investigating that still needs to happen. And authorities say Schwenkenmeyer is actually the pastor of the Spirit of the Mountains Lutheran Chapel. That's near Coal Creek Canyon in Jefferson County. Services are held at a community center there on Sundays, and the pastor said he didn't want to go on camera with us today, but he did tell us he doesn't know how that questionable material got on his computer, only that it's possible someone else may have put it there. He says at this point he's trying to just figure out all the details himself. Officers arrested him yesterday and then seized some of his belongings, including his computer. Another pastor at the Spirit of the Mountains Chapel didn't want to talk to us about this. We do know that Schwenkenmeyer was released on bond the same day that he was arrested on a $50,000 bond, and Kyle will have to see at his next court appearance in March whether or not there are additional charges filed.
Jessica O reporting. Thank you, Jessica.
Speaking as a computer professional, I will say that, it's to say the least unlikely that you could accidentally get child porn on your computer. I don't think I've ever met anybody who accidentally. I've never met anybody who had child porn on their computer. So I absolutely have not ever met anybody who accidentally got child porn on their computer. So.
I'm wondering, they say it's his computer, but was this a computer that, if it was in his house or in his office, that someone else had access to? I mean, that might be a legitimate defense, that he was not the only person who used this computer.
It could be a legitimate defense, but somehow I think that he's full of shit.
Okay.
I was going to say, if they caught him red-handed, it's like, officer, I don't know, how my penis ended up in my hand. Somebody must have put it there. It wasn't me.
You have to wonder. I mean, it's a very. I mean, if someone else had access to it, you think that'd be the first thing he would be saying already. Not, I don't know how it got on there. I had no idea. Scott knows. That'd be the first thing I'd say. Whoa! I am not the only one that has access to that computer. I have never seen any porn on there. I've never seen any child porn on there. I don't know what you're talking about. That's not his defense. His defense is like, I don't know.
I would be racking my. Right, I'd be racking my brains for every person who even sat near my computer in the last 10 years. If that happened to me, it was like I was wrongfully found, found to have child porn on my computer.
Your Honor, I took it in to be fixed by the Geek Squad. I have no idea what happened.
Right.
Well, I'm sure it'll all work out for him. All right, let's.
Did we not have any stories where we had to drink? Although I was drinking the entire time. But...
No, sadly, no youth pastors, no shocked, nothing.
Wow. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Thank you.
Yeah. Well, apparently even the local news are jaded by priests fucking kids and exposing themselves. There was no shocks anywhere. I know. It's pretty surprising.
Okay, let's move on to the quiz.
They've never thought the fact that they're going to burn one day in hell. Go to hell without Jesus Christ.
I got 4 questions for you folks tonight. The first one, the following quote. The lower a person feels, the closer he comes to his true state and to the Creator. That quote comes from what source? A, Psalms, B, the Talmud, C, the Book of Mormon, or D, Veda?
Sorry, what was the question again? You don't have to give the answers, just the question.
Yeah, the lower a person feels, the closer he comes to his true state and to the Creator. Where does that quote come from? What is the source of that quote?
What was I didn't understand the fourth answer. Who was that? What was that?
That is that's Hindu. It's
okay.
Veda. It's spelled Veda. I believe it's pronounced It's Veda. Maybe Veda.
Yeah, the Veda. Yeah, Veda.
I'm picking that one. I'm picking 4.
Yeah, I kind of. What was the other ones again? I guess may as well.
Psalms, Talmud, and the Book of Mormon.
Oh yeah, definitely the last one. Yeah, definitely Hindu Vedas.
Veda. You are both incorrect. It's the Talmud.
Wow. Oh,
wow.
My God,
really?
Weird.
Yes, it is.
The Jews are depressing people? This is shocking.
Well, here's the next one now. You're both ex-Catholics, so let's see how well you know this one. Technically, I guess it's not a Catholic. It's a Catholic story, but it's not technically about the religion. But Here we go. A year after Pope John Paul II was shot by a Turkish gunman in St. Peter's Square, there was a 1982 failed attempt on his life while the Pope was visiting Portugal. Who was it, and what did he use, and what became of him, the assassin, I'm saying? Was it A, it was a communist member of the Portugal Parliament who used a butter knife, and after prison he ran for office again and won? Or was it B, it was a cocaine-addled member of the Swiss Guard who used a steak knife? After prison, he became an author of several children's books. Or was it C, an ultra-conservative Spanish priest who used a bayonet? After prison, he would later go on to become a lawyer in Belgium.
I think it's number one. I think.
A communist member of the Portugal Parliament who used a butter knife? Okay.
I guess it could be 3, but fuck it. I'll just say 1.
I'm gonna say the butler did it.
That's not an option.
Damn it. Okay. I'll pick the third one just because I don't want to put you through the torture of reading all that again.
Well, very good, because that is the correct answer. The third one.
Yay!
It was an ultra-conservative Spanish priest who used a bayonet. At the prison, he would later become a lawyer in Belgium, and that was the gentleman's name was Juan Marie Fernandez Ergay Coran, if I'm not butchering that too badly. Interesting story.
Where the hell do you get a bayonet?
Who knows? It's probably just lying around. Maybe one of the Swiss Guard had it. Who knows?
Yeah, well.
All right. So next question. In December 2010, 2 open letters signed by rabbis in Israel generated heated controversy within and outside the country. What did the letters say? Was it A, the letters called on Jews to not rent to, date, or marry non-Jews? B, the letters called for God's punishment for allowing a gay pride parade in Jerusalem? Or was it C, the letters called for Obama to bomb Iran?
B.
B, the letters called for punishment for allowing a gay pride parade in Jerusalem. Okay.
I'm going to go with A.
You can go with A, the letters called on Jews to not rent, date, or marry non-Jews. And you're right again, Leanne. Very good.
Oh, wow. Good. Wow. Good for you. Good for you.
I'm just racking up the Publishers Clearinghouse rewards here.
And the last one, and this is based on Hamet's religion, or former religion, I should say. Oh, damn it. I just gave it away. Oh, fuck it. Anyway, I'm going to ask it anyway, but I've just given you the answer. Which religion uses the swastika to mean good luck or well-being? Is it A, Jains, B, Wicca, C, the Branch Davidians, or D, no religion uses a swastika to mean this?
I would have said Jains anyway, because I know that.
I'll give you the points. I fucked up. But it's the Jains are the ones who use the swastika to mean good luck and well-being. And very, very, very interesting choice. Well, technically, I mean, I guess they had it first, and then the Nazis acquired it.
Yeah, because it's like, well, because you know that Indians are, I mean, they're considered they're Aryans. You know, the Aryan peoples came from what is now India, but they were brown people. They were never white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. But somehow, I don't know how that whole Aryan thing and the swastika stuff got integrated into Nazism. It was pretty weird. But there was like some crazy mystics and other kinds of weirdos in that in the Nazi movement. So maybe that's how it came.
Well, if you guys are Dan Brown fans at all, the guy that I can't remember the books that he's written that have been historical fiction, based on the Bible and religious stories. There was an opening scene in one of the movies where they talked about symbology, and you'll think a symbol means one thing, but you'll go back 100, 1,000, 3,000 years, and symbols can change meanings depending on geography or groups. So it's not just the one thing you've come to think it is. It can be multiple things. Like a pentagram is not necessarily always meant witches.
Right. I mean, I think in this case, though, with the swastika, they did consciously take it from Jainism for some weird reason. Yeah, the
Nazis consciously stole something?
Yes. What you mean? Or you don't even have to say Nazis. You mean white people consciously stole something from brown people? You can just cut out the Nazi middleman there.
That's it, Sean. Sell out your people.
I can't even believe I'm about to say this, but not just white people steal.
I know.
But you're so sweet, Sean. I love it.
No, but we steal big, though.
I was going to say that, but I steal big.
Oh, listen, I admire the hustle. If you're going to steal big.
All right, that is the rest of developments for this week, and that is Skeptiles for this week. I want to again thank Harmit Mehta for doing our show, and I guess I'm going to say goodnight to everyone here. Guys, good job. And next week we're going to have on Mr. Joe Rocha will be returning to the podcast, and it should be a good time.
All right, have a good night, guys. Take care. Bye.
Is that all there is? Is that all there is? If that's all there is, my friends, then let's keep dancing. Let's break out the booze and have a ball. If that's all